Hi everyone, I'm Yvette Taylor, and today we're here at the fabulous Create-A-Cook, which is a cooking school for adults and kids. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a basic baked ham. And we're going to start with a fresh store-bought ham like you see here, and we're actually going to brine it. So to start, we're going to start making our brine. On the stove here, I have a large pot with a gallon of water, just plain water. You can actually use any liquid you want. You can combine it with beer or cider or hard cider, but I'm just going to use water because I'm going to be adding a lot of different flavors to it. So we're going to start with 3/4 of a cup of just regular white sugar. You can use brown or incorporate both if you'd like. Then I'm going to use kosher salt, and I'm going to do a cup of kosher salt. I'm going to put in 2 bay leaves. And then what I've got here is a mixture of spices, and these are whole spices. So I've got black peppercorns and whole coriander and some cumin seed and fennel seed. So all of this is going to make our brine really aromatic. So I'm going to put that all in here, and then I'm going to bring it to a boil. And you want to make sure that you bring it to a full boil, because what you need to do is dissolve the salt and the sugar together, and that's going to make the brine. Then you're just going to shut the heat off and let it cool completely on the stove, or you can transfer it to the refrigerator if it fits. And once the brine is completely cool, then we'll be ready to add the ham to it and brine it. Before we put our fresh ham into the brine, we're going to talk about the different cuts of pork that you can find in your grocery store to make this dish. And this, again, is a fresh ham, and when you're doing a brined baked ham, you always want to start with a fresh cut of pork. There are different types of cuts that you're going to find in your grocery store. When you're doing a baked ham, ideally you want to get the rear leg, the shank portion. Lots of times you'll see the butt portion, or you'll see the picnic shoulder, which is the front leg. And those are fine too, especially for brining, because they're great, inexpensive cuts of meat. And to do this exercise and make this dish, you can absolutely use those as well. But if you want to do a ham for a holiday dinner, and ideally you want to get the rear shank leg, and you might actually have to order that from your butcher or from your grocery store, but basically this is what it's going to look like, and you want to have the skin on, because the skin is going to get really nice and crispy when we roast it. So now we're going to put our ham into the brining liquid, and we want to make sure that it's completely covered. Then we're going to cover it, and we want to refrigerate this for at least 12 hours to 2 days. So now we have our brined ham, and I've already taken it out of the brine and rinsed it, and then I've discarded the brine. There's no reason to keep it. So we're going to prepare it to roast. I've got a roasting pan here, and you want to make sure that you've got a rack, some sort of a rack, so that the juices and the pan drippings can fall beneath the roast. And we want to put it skin side up into the oven, and first we're going to score the skin. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow the skin to get really nice and crispy, and it's going to burst apart, and when we apply the glaze, all that really nice glaze is going to get absorbed into the ham. So you just want to take a really sharp knife, and you don't have to be really fancy about it, but you just want to go right through the skin and the first layer of fat. You don't want to cut all the way into the meat. So once we get all the way across the ham, we're going to go back in a crisscross pattern. So you're going to end up with sort of a diamond shape on top of your ham. You don't want to make them so small that the pieces are going to fall off. So now we've scored our ham. We're going to put it into the roasting rack, and it's going to go into a preheated oven at 450 degrees. So we're going to start it at a high temperature for about 25 to 30 minutes. So now we're going to make our brown sugar tamarind chili glaze. We're going to add all of our ingredients to the pot, and then we're going to bring it to a boil to incorporate them all together. And we've got some orange juice, some brown sugar, and the key ingredient here, tamarind. This is actually a tamarind concentrate. You can find this in a lot of grocery stores now. It used to be that you could only find the pulp and you had to strain it, but this is a lot more convenient. What it is it's a really beautiful, tangy, sweet, sour combination, and adds a really nice flavor to glazes. So it's going to balance really well with the sweetness of the brown sugar that we have in the glaze. And then we're also going to counteract that with some chili paste. I've also got some whole grain mustard. And then I've got some soy sauce. You can also add Worcestershire sauce, or you could choose to do one or the other. And then some minced garlic. So then we're going to bring that to a boil to incorporate all of the ingredients together. If you are using the pulp, then you might want to zip this in a food processor or a blender really quickly, but you don't have to. Once you bring it to a boil, it's going to reduce slightly and all of the ingredients are going to blend together. Then you're going to let that cool and we'll be ready to start basting our pork. Now the pork has been in the oven for about 30 minutes at 450 degrees. So now we're going to lower the temperature to 350 and we're going to let it continue to roast for about another hour. Then during the last hour or so, we're going to start painting the roast with our glaze every 15 to 20 minutes until it's done. And when it's done, it's when the internal temperature reaches 145 degrees. So if your roast is somewhere around 6 to 8 pounds, or if it's somewhere around 10 to 12 pounds, you don't have to worry about watching the clock. You really want to test the center of the meat with a thermometer and pull it out at 145 degrees. Then you're going to tent it with foil and you're going to let it rest for 30 minutes. And it's really important to do that because what's going to happen is all of the juices are going to redistribute and reabsorb, and you're going to get a really nice, juicy, flavorful piece of ham. So here we have our fully cooked ham, and it's already rested for 30 minutes. So you can see it has a really beautiful mahogany color from the glaze that's been basting, and you can see where we scored it, and these little sort of knobs of fat have really burst and gotten crispy on top and nice and juicy. So now we're ready to cut and slice our ham to serve it. And when you have a piece like this where you've got the bone in the middle, right in the middle, it's a good idea to start from the top, and you're going to make slices straight down to the bone itself. You're not going to worry about going all around it. So for the first cuts, you're just going to slice straight down to the bone, and then you're going to go crosswise this way and take the pieces off in whole pieces to serve them. So here we have our brown sugar tamarind chili glazed baked ham. Hope you enjoy.